the beginning there was God. He was the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
He is the boss of everyone. He made the world.
But then there was the enemy, and he used to like God. But he wanted to be like
God.
Like
He wanted to be God.
And then
he got an army to try to defeat God's army. No single sky, no single anything on the angels. Because God controls the angels. So it's like...
But then God fought. This is not going anywhere. I will send my son to stop the fighting forever.
God made him for a reason.
And Jesus became a man.
Jesus was a cool dude.
He's the son of God.
He's tall.
He has a beard.
And he just in robes of white.
He wore a brown cloth with it.
He would look like a long gown, but for men. So Jesus, he was a really selfless man.
He's a kind person. He always take care of us. He helps people.
Help people get more stuff. Help people get houses.
People said we're like losers. They weren't basically anything. But he told them that you guys are important. And
even if someone was mean to him, he wasn't mean back. He was nice back. He gave people food.
Fed the 5,000 people.
He walked over water.
Walked over lava.
He also helped the sick woman. He brought people back to life, like Lazarus. Jesus came and he does telling the truth about them. He used the faith he put in God to make things work. Some people were astounded by him, but some others were against him for what he was doing.
These people were the
teachers of the law.
So the Pharisees were a group of people, kind of like the leaders, I guess. Everyone looked up to them. There are people who thought they were powerful and things, and they're like, oh, look at me, I have money and I give to the churches, but really it doesn't mean anything to them. They kind of were show-offs. They were raising their hands and everything, but they weren't really putting any faith or heart into it.
So when Jesus came
and he told them off, but they didn't like that, so they
wanted to kill him,
do bad stuff to him, so he could just be quiet and let them do what they do. They wanted to hurt him and make him die because they were jealous of him.
And they say stuff like,
"Who do you think you are? You're just walking around pretending to be the son of God."
And then there was the Last Supper.
That was when he knew that he was gonna die.
So he wanted to be with his friends and he wanted to eat food with him.
Eat bread and fish bit,
I think he had spaghetti bolognese,
cereal with some cinnamon toast crunch,
cornflakes, and he said to his friends, my Suicide Squad friends, this bread is my body and this drink is my blood. Here, take it. But his friends were like, huh? What do you mean, Jesus? He had 12 friends. Their names were Judas and Tudas and Moses and Moses and Yango and Tanto and Rando and Randolph.
So Judas, he was this disciple. Jesus called him a friend. You can trust, you can be by their side. But Judas, he fell into temptation with the Pharisees. They were bribing him to do something that was the wrong thing. If you show me where Jesus' location is, we'll give you 30 silver coins, which is a lot back then. So, meanwhile,
in the garden,
Jesus knew that all of this was gonna happen.
I'm gonna cry.
He was praying to God because he knew he was going to die the next day and said,
help me, God. I know you're here with me.
I'll do anything you tell me to. I'll do it for you, God, because this is what you want.
And he also prayed
that he would have superpowers, throw chocolate at him that's poisonous and all that,
But still, Jesus was crying
Really hard, oh God. So Judas, he went up to Jesus and he kissed him. So then the Pharisees were watching. So then you could see which one he was. So they can know. They can kill him. And loads of bad guys wanting to kill Jesus had circled him and trapped him, and Jesus got caught.
They go inside the car.
He went to court.
They vote if he's guilty or not.
Because there was Jesus and Barabbas. He's a murderer. There were multiple people behind him. So they wanted to get Barabbas set free because they didn't like Jesus. So the crowd was shouting at the judge.
Pontius Pilate.
Everyone wanted to kill Jesus.
And then the people were shouting, "Crucify! I hate you!
Cut the idol out!
I don't really see anything that's wrong with this guy. But then he gave in for the people. So, okay, if you wanted to be crucified, just go ahead. Go ahead. So they set the other guy free. Then they locked him up and put him in jail. And then the guards came along. They were making fun of him.
You look like a pig. Haha, you look ugly. You look weird.
The king of the Jews is stuck in jail. He's gonna be crucified. Ha ha ha.
Punch them in the face 10 times. 1, 2, 3.
Strip him off his clothes and just beating him. And
Jesus had to wear this hat with spikes on it.
the crown of thorns. And they were like hitting it into his head. They whipped Jesus. So they would do this in public where they would whip him, tie him to a post and take off his clothes and just whip him. It was kind of all sharp. It was pointy. It was scratched towards his skin. He felt so much pain. He cried. He bled out. He kept getting whipped. Like with most people in jail, they would do it like just a certain amount of times. But with Jesus, they like did a lot more.
But it didn't stop there.
Jesus had to carry this big, heavy cross on his back all the way up the hill.
A hill called
Mountain Golgotha.
And the crowd was just like watching him, booing at him.
After they nailed him on the cross,
his hands, his feet.
And there was a crowd watching him getting hung up.
and people were crying because he was dying.
Mary and stuff, they would like be sad.
Really sad.
Like if I was Mary, I wouldn't want to look at that. Like that's my son.
Hey, Mom.
And he was thirsty. They offered him vinegar to like make him numb so it wouldn't hurt as much. Like they put on a sponge, but he like refused it. He wanted to endure the pain.
They were still making fun of him.
You are the Son of God. Where's you getting this? You are not a God. You are nothing.
He's been drinking too much wine.
He said before that when he dies, he's gonna break the temple in half, and everyone didn't believe him. He said like, "Oh, how are you gonna do that when you're in one place, but it's like all the way down there?" When he died, he said his last words, "It is finished."
He died for us.
We had so many sins that he had to die for all of our sins. Wait, didn't Jesus go in a Pokeball because he fainted?
And he died on the cross.
And then there was a giant earthquake.
What's happening in this world?
I'm too young to die.
Then the temple split in half, and everyone was like, whoa.
He really was the Son of God.
When the temple was torn in two, it was like a door opening up to God, I guess, so that everyone can pray freely without having to do certain things before you can do it. Once he was dead,
And they stabbed him to make sure he was dead.
Stab, stab.
they got a mullet and like broke his bones so he was actually dead and like not just pretending. So they covered him in like linen, kind of like a burrito, and
Put him in the
Cave.
volcano.
They put him in the resting cave.
put him in a tomb and buried him.
A boulder. I put a boulder.
Jesus had to go in the tomb for 3 days.
For 3 days, these ladies were checking up on the body, so like just like taking care of stuff. On the 3rd day,
He started breaking through his tomb.
it was just like a regular day. They went up to the tomb and
The tomb was open.
It smells like raw fish.
the stone was rolled away.
And Jesus was gone.
So they were like kind of like, where is he? Like, I'm scared. The only thing that was left was his burrito bread, his linen.
With tissue. They saw an angel in there laying down on a rock.
Then he said, Jesus isn't here. He's over there. Bye.
He grew again.
He was resurrected and he rose from the grave.
Then they saw Jesus. He was eating fish. And Mary was crying.
Creeped out. Thought it was a ghost.
Mary was like, okay, this is very weird and cool. And she started crying. And she went with someone, like her assistant. It's like a janitor, but it's not like a janitor. And like they go to a building, big, wide, has a door. They go walk through it, and then they go to his disciples, and they say, okay, so Jesus broke out of his tomb, did a stuff.
He came back to life.
He resurrected.
And Jesus appeared in front of his disciples, but they're kind of like suspicious because they didn't know if it was actually him.
They are like, ghost! Ah! Creeped out and happy at the same time.
Is that you? Like, and he said, yes, it's me.
Oh, yum!
alive.
Hallelujah. And they would like go shop. After his resurrection, he hanged out with his mate, I think for just a little bit, and told them he had a mission to go and make more disciples.
Look after the world.
And reach out to people and help them by knowing Jesus. And that's still on today. Like, reach out to people, tell them you can pray freely. So he ascended into heaven.
Jesus is flying away. See you again soon, friends. See you later, boy.
Now we have, I guess, more hope.
God actually forgave everyone.
A man who died for us. He kind of sacrificed himself. He gave all his love for us.
He always be with us.
Things are possible with him, and that he's always by our side.
Sometimes I have to go through the bad stuff, for sometimes for the good.
When he died, that means all our sins is like gone, and like we're renewed, and like our old self is gone. And now we have hope, so whenever we're like just feeling down or whatever, we can always pray to him and tell him, like, know that we're gonna be okay.
But he's way better than the Legend of Korra. He knows more elements. Before I say this, can you please subscribe? Happy Stop!